Hey everybody, welcome back to the Pressing Matters. I'm Scott. Thank you for tuning in today. Thank you for your support. Today I have a double whammy, 2 hard rock classics and a brief shootout that I can't wait to tell you the results of. One is Dreamboat Annie and one is Led Zeppelin II. Before I get started, I wanted to point your attention to a video I did yesterday with Kassem, my first ever interview. And we talked about all things living stereo. So if that interests you, please check out that video. I think it was pretty interesting, especially as we got rolling and got into it. It got a lot of interesting details and stories from Chad. So definitely check that out. And with that, I want to talk about Led Zeppelin. No, I'm just kidding. No, Chad is not doing Led Zeppelin. And don't ask him. He'll probably cut your head off. I don't ask him anything like that. What we have here is Heart Dreamboat Annie. So this is an original US pressing, first pressing. I have the Deadwax Inscriptions I'll give you at the end if you're interested. This is on the Mushroom label. I also have the Nautilus half-speed mastered super disc and the Mobile Fidelity 2x45. For Led Zeppelin, I have my friend John's RL. Thank you so much, John, for adding this to my collection. I'm so happy to have it. No, I'm not keeping it. And my friend Ozzy's Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab from the original era on JVC Super Vinyl. And my Classic by Bernie Grunman. So we'll get to Led Zeppelin II second. I want to go through my system because there's a couple of changes. If you've been following along with me here and on Audiophilia, you know that I had Phasmation EA 350 Phonostage in for a companion to the evaluation for the Phasmation PP500 cartridge that I reviewed for Audiophilia. The cartridge remains here at the moment, but the Phonostage had to go to the Capitol Audio Show, and it's not coming back, unfortunately. I loved it, but I couldn't afford it, even at a discounted price. So I was sorry to see that go, but I do have my wonderful Moderate PH 9.0 in the system, so that's good. The Perpetuum Ebner turntable, beautiful table, just lovely and wonderful to use. That also went to the Capitol Audio Show. I'm going to miss that, but again, I have a wonderful reference, and that's my VPI Scout. So the system for this evaluation was the VPI Scout with the Classic Platter upgrade, the JMW 9 Memorial Tonearm, which make it an upgrade very soon. And what else? That's going to the Moderate PH 9.0, the standard version. The Moderate was set at 100 ohms for loading the Phasmation cartridge. From there, it skips the Sugar Cube. I took it out of the system for this sonic evaluation. And it goes to my little KN A50T tube amp, which is a beautiful musical powerhouse, a little gem for sure. And then it goes to this beautiful musical System Audio Pandion 30 speakers. The system is wired with Audio Art cable exclusively, so that was a nice upgrade as well. So that is the system that I used for this, and let's get into these 2 records. You know, Led Zeppelin II and Heart. You know, Heart, when they first came out, were billed as the female Led Zeppelin. And the track Magic Man is one of the reasons why. I used Magic Man for this evaluation, and on Led Zeppelin II, I used the track Whole Lotta Love. So let's start with Heart, and let's start with the original. The original Kendun pressing, this is a US first pressing, has been in my collection for a long time. I got to hear the track Magic Man when I was at the Florida Audio Show, and it really impressed me. They were doing it from tape, and it was in the MBL room at an after-hour party. So a lot of great tracks were played, and when Magic Man came on, I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to get home and play this. And to my surprise, it sounded great on my more modest system. There, I heard it on $100,000 MBL, and of course it was, hundreds of thousands of dollar MBL system. And of course it was very dimensional and fabulous. But I was very impressed with what I heard on my home system. This original pressing, I also heard over at Oswaldo's place. It's perfection. It's a monster. I could not believe what I was hearing. It is the most perfectly balanced version of this. Beautiful, powerful, dynamic as hell, deep as hell, huge bass sound, wonderful guitar sound, excellent vocal clarity. Just the list of superlatives goes on and on about this record. It's a high bar to top. Magic Man sounded absolutely stunning, really beautiful. The vocal projection on it is amazing. It has just the right amount of edge. It never goes overboard. It can be cranked to the max and it doesn't fall apart. It doesn't get bright. It doesn't get edgy. It's just warm, lush, clear. It has this elastic quality in the music, the way that rhythm section is going. It's just hypnotic and beautiful. The instrumental break with the bass synthesizer is so deep and so thrilling. It anchors the whole record. Oh, this pressing is unbelievable. And I was like, there's no way anything's going to top this. There's no way. Sometimes reissues can. I'm not an original pressing guy. And I was really curious to see what Nautilus and Mobile Fidelity did with it. But this is something very, very special. There's the label. So let's go to the next one in release schedule. That would be the Nautilus half-speed mastered super disc. I'm working on an interview with the founder of Nautilus, so that'll be really interesting. I'm sure he's got a lot of stories about the history of releasing records like this in this time period. And although I've been very impressed with Nautilus for everything that I've heard, this one was a little bit of a letdown. And I'll tell you why. Coming right after the magnificent original, it was rather flat in its presentation. The soundstage was not the same. It didn't have the depth. It didn't have the dynamics. It didn't reach as low in the bass. The vocal quality was somewhat recessed instead of projecting with power. And although it's clear and beautiful in that respect, like the detail and stuff, it gets a little bright at times compared to the original. The original is just right. And overall, I was disappointed with the showing for the Nautilus. I expected it to be a little bit better based on all the fabulous Nautilus titles I've heard, but it didn't quite measure up. I'll let you know where it fell in the evaluation of all three. But yeah, so that one, not so high on the list. Then we have the Mobile Fidelity 2x45. Came out in the last few years, I guess. It is a good record. It is a great sounding record on its own. If you heard it in isolation, you'd be pretty impressed. It has wonderful depth and clarity, great big bass sound, good dynamics and projection of the vocals. Guitar sounds is good. The problem here is it's oddly, slightly rolled off on top, and it's crucial. It robs the record of the impact that the original gives you. It's polite in that respect. It's clean. It's, like I said, in isolation, it's probably very impressive. But I got to tell you that coming off of that original, none of these could hold a candle to it. None. It was that much better. You know, I'd say, I'm not going to rate them on a scale, but the original is far superior to either of these. The Mobile Fidelity is very good, and it probably has some improvements across the whole record. I only heard Magic Man, but the Nautilus falls to the third place for sure. So the inscriptions on that Heart record, if you want to search for it, it's the catalog number, which is MRS 5005 1A 1B. It has a Kendun stamp after that, and I believe a JG in the Deadwax on side 1, and there's a little written inscription on each side. The first side says, "Wax to the max." The second side says, "Go for it, magazine." That's the one you want. That's the one you want. Original Canadian pressings, they may share the same mastering. Look for that exact inscription on whatever pressing you find, and that's the one. So let's move on to Led Zeppelin II. Another classic rock album. This is John's RL, double RL. I had never heard the RL. I've heard the legend, but I've never heard it. And now that I've heard it, I'm keeping this. John, John, no, I'm just kidding. You can have it back. But like you say, it's only a record. It's only a record. Yeah, it's not only a record. The RL lives up to the hype. It was a monster. It was a monster. I was speechless. I was texting Oswaldo. I was like, this is thunderous. It's amazing. It's overwhelming. Wonderful, wonderful power. Just bone-crushing power and dynamics. I said, it's like Godzilla stomping through my listening room. It was thrilling. It's got a raw quality to it. I will say that. The later pressings clean things up a little bit. But is that what you want for Led Zeppelin II and a whole lot of love? You want unleashed abandon. And that's exactly what you get on the RL. Fabulous, fabulous. You know, the spatial characteristics, especially in that middle Space Jam section, are pretty impressive. Maybe a little more so on the cleaner cuts, but still the trade-off on this for the power, the dynamics, and everything, it's just not, it's not a question. The RL is superb. It's really wonderful. I couldn't believe how good it was. The vocal quality, the guitar sound, the drum sound, powerful. The bass, deep. Like I said, it stomps. It's pretty magical. It lives up to the hype. I love it. I love it. Ozzy was really rooting for this one. This is original master recording from the JVC Super Vinyl days. I believe it's a stand record cut. I'm sorry I didn't check it first, but no matter. This comes very, very close to the RL. And it has a few advantages as well. It's cleaner textures, quieter surfaces for sure. And that may make a difference. It didn't make that much difference on Whole Lotta Love because it's a loud song. I didn't even hear any, ticks or anything in John's copy of the RL because, the music is just so alive and loud that you wouldn't hear anything. So maybe in the quieter cuts, this one could shine. And it does shine in its own way. It comes very, very close in power and that bone-crushing weight that the RL has, but not quite. It's very, very close. I would say a point or two. I mean, half a point or a point difference. Like I said, the clarity in the vocals, the clarity in the spatial effects is breathtaking on this. A worthy alternative to the very expensive RL. I think this is pretty expensive as it is, maybe a couple $100. So, it's expensive to get a really good cut of Led Zeppelin II, at least as far as I can see here. And the third one is expensive too. That's my cut, or my record, the Bernie Grundman Classic. I have the first 6 of the classics. I got them when they came out, when they were affordable. Now they're hundreds and hundreds of dollars. This one, I was a little disappointed. It's clean. It's not as dynamic. It's not as... It doesn't grab you by the throat like the RL does. But overall, it sounds good. It's just the overriding thing with this one is a brightness to it that, while it doesn't ruin the experience, it is very noticeable in comparison, and it's not as desirable in comparison. I don't know if Bernie just let all that through or if it was brought up a bit, but it gives it a super detailed sound that's very, very bright, but it's a little fatiguing after a while. So although this is a good sounding record, I don't think anyone should pay the going market price for it. I would definitely select one of the other two if the prices were similar. I think an RL is just way too expensive if you're getting it from someone who knows what it is. If you happen to find one in the wild, well, great for you. I hope I do someday. But this was really interesting. Sometimes reissues can surpass originals. But in this case, with these 2 classic rock albums, they got it right the first time. The Kendun mushroom pressing of Dreamboat Annie is spectacular, and so is the RL. I really enjoyed doing this. I want to thank the guys for lending me these. I want to ask John for the RL for Christmas. No, I won't do that. But thank you so much for watching. The world really needs a great reissue of Led Zeppelin II. We all know this. Let me know what you thought about the Jimmy Page remasters. I never heard them. I've heard poor things about them, so I just never got one. Are they as bad as everyone says they are, or are they at least decent? And how do they hold up to these? If someone finally convinces Jimmy Page to do Led Zeppelin II, or, well, let's say Led Zeppelin II, reissuing the RL, if the plates even exist, or at least an EQ tape exists, that would be ideal. That would be ideal. At this point, the tapes are pretty old. So that would be wonderful. I don't know if it'll ever happen in our lifetime, but we can pray, we can hope. And again, don't ask Chad for Led Zeppelin II. He will get mad. Until next time, I'm Scott for The Pressing Matters. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.